You talk about story making rather than storytelling. What's the difference and why does it
Yeah.
matter?
Oh God, it matters so much. And it's funny, this is a term that I learned
Uh,
probably just 2.5, 3 years ago.
Capital is always top of mind for founders. What are the biggest shifts you are seeing in venture funding right now?
Yeah, well, we'll finally see it start to open up again. It was, you kind of heard about the winter of
Yeah.
funding and the winter of biotech.
Welcome to Life Science Insights podcast. I'm your host Sandal Kananidhi. In this episode, we'll explore a journey across AI and life sciences, perspectives on building innovation ecosystems, and how leaders can responsibly deploy AI at scale in high impact industries. Our guest for today is James Janwich, CEO of Connect and a global innovation architect with a deep leadership across AI, tech, and life sciences. James operates at the intersection of advanced technology and healthcare innovation, helping organizations translate complex ideas into scalable real world solutions. As a CEO of Connect, he works closely with industry leaders, innovators, and government stakeholders to accelerate adoption of transformative technologies while navigating highly regulated and mission critical environments. It's great to have you with us, James.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here today.
Okay. Can you start by telling a bit about your background?
Sure. Yeah. So if I started as a chemist years ago, and people may have heard the story or it may be new, but my first job was literally to make paint and watch it dry on a project that proved our that our technology did not work in paint, which was not as exciting as I might have hoped. And so from that. I was looking at what do I do next, and I wound up going to law school at Tulane University in New Orleans, Louisiana. Very quickly, I think figured out that the law was not going to be my long-term solution, but the skills I were learning were very useful. So finished law school, but got heavily involved in what was then called new media, which was CompuServe, Prodigy, eventually AOL, and led to a job working for the entertainment TV show Extra, which many people may have heard of and watched for half hours of their life and gotten entertained and informed all at once. But from that, went and worked in knowledge transfer or technology transfer at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Started the office at the University of Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky. Started the function, which is actually more like innovation philanthropy, I would say, for the Howard Hughes Medical Institute's Janelia Research Campus,
Okay.
and then wound up back at my alma mater of Tulane as their chief strategy officer for the School of Medicine, where I did corporate investor partnerships, communications, marketing, clinical service line marketing, crisis management, and new initiatives, and whatever else the dean asked me to do. As part of that, really got engaged heavily in life science, even deeper, the intersection of technology and life science, especially with AI in healthcare. Became an early member of and eventually a board member and treasurer for the Alliance for AI in Healthcare, the premier industry association for AI and healthcare companies. Returned to the International Organization of Bio to help chair what was then their technology transfer committee and guide it into becoming the Academic Industry Network, which I still help helm. Um, and also got a little role with a venture fund called Maker, which does really interesting investments at the intersection of tech and science and AI, machine learning, data, and how that can drive things forward, as well as looking at novel energy and some other things like that. And Maker also pairs it with a really interesting marketing agency and community around that. So it was a really fascinating model. Um, all this led to randomly being sent the job at Connect by about 30 people. A lot of folks in my network said this is the perfect job for you, and the job listing very clearly said you should have lived in San Diego for 10 to 15 years, which I had not. I had a lot of friends here, but had not lived here. But they convinced me to send our board chair James Mackay a quick note and just had let him know how when I was 29, so roughly 26 years ago or so, had gotten to see one of our founders of Connect, Mary Walshock, speak about Connect at a conference and watch the room just kind of hush up in awe and listen to everything she had to say. And from that moment on, anytime I had the chance to learn from something Connect had done, would always do that. And so it was was not looking for a job. I was in my dream job at my alma mater in my dream city of New Orleans. And all of a sudden, dreams changed. And I dropped James that note. We had a conversation that we thought would probably be 10 to 15 minutes. It lasted 47 minutes. And both walked away feeling like, this was a perfect fit. And things just steamrolled from there and wound up, you know, at the helm of a really storied organization that is the original accelerator of all accelerators and has really changed the face of the world as far as innovation in companies. Um, it's something I'd never planned, and just I feel very fortunate and blessed to be entrusted to help re-envision it kind of for our 3.0 act.
Okay. That's a fascinating journey.
Thanks.
Okay. You built an incredible career at the intersection of innovation, law, and technology. What originally drew you into this space?
I'll be honest, my dad made me. So my parents, my dad is a chemical engineer and an MBA. My mom is an emergency room nurse, and
Okay.
they talked me into going to this really amazing liberal arts college, Center College in Danville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And the great thing about a liberal arts school is they expose you to everything
Mm,
before you declare what you're going to be. Unlike a lot of larger schools where you have to go in and know what you are going to be and do it. So I got exposed to theater and English and the classics and religion
wow.
and all these things that you have to learn. And it was, they had a trimester system. And so the
Mm,
third semester of your sophomore year, so in the spring, you would have to declare your major and start doing courses towards your major. And I remember sitting and telling my dad, "Oh, I think I'll major in theater and English." And he was like,
mm,
maybe you should major in chemistry
that's
instead.
true.
And so that's what I did. And always really enjoyed lab and was great at lab, great at the application, was terrible at the testing. And like I could learn and apply things amazingly, but not be tested on them in the sciences to save my life. But that, fortunately led to me having, a deep passion for helping scientists communicate about their science and translate it into the outside world. And while I don't ever see myself as the innovator who comes up with something out of nothing like scientists do and invents that next thing. I do see really interesting patterns in the way things should be put together and the way people should be connected to help have a greater impact. And that can often help people advance their innovations, whether they're life science, tech, climate, defense, whatever. But just by having made my superpower of being a connector and getting to know people, um, and figuring out who should maybe talk to each other and brainstorm about something interesting coming out. That's really what drives me is the ability to help impact society by getting the right people together at the right moments that maybe has a greater impact than they would on their own.
Okay. It's an interesting journey. Connect has been shaping the innovation landscape for nearly 40 years. What motivated you to take on the CEO role and lead its next chapter?
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, which is honestly having had my career so shaped by Connect and what it did. I mean, Connect first really created the entire field that I work in of kind of innovation and knowledge transfer and entrepreneurship out of universities and moving things forward. And so it's been seminal in who I've become as a person, and it is the first accelerator of anywhere in the world. It was an accelerator helping entrepreneurs move forward before that word existed, and then has been copied by 50 countries around the globe who came to
Wow.
learn from San Diego and other regions in America who came to learn from
Mm,
San Diego on how to do this. Which for a city that's so young is really interesting because San Diego is actually a very young city, even by
yeah.
American standards, but goes deeper in innovation ecosystems than anywhere else because
Mm,
I think it's just part of that real. You come to San Diego and you feel from the community as a sense of helping each other more than
yes.
taking for yourself. It's a very relationship focused versus a transactional culture.
Mm,
And I think that's in part why Connect really established as it did. And you can look at the name Connect and understand what Connect is about. It's about connecting the right people to the right resources and the right other folks at the right time to help them move forward. And the fact that Connect takes nothing from the entrepreneurs it helps, no equity, no fees. It is a nonprofit that just does that to help companies and entrepreneurs grow on their journey was really exciting to me.
yeah, it's nice to learn. When you think about Connect today versus a decade ago, What feels most transformed?
Yeah, so I think again we're at that inflection point where San Diego is now an incredibly mature ecosystem, and where before Connect was the only game in town 40 years ago. Now there, if you look around, there are probably near 300 places entrepreneurs in different disciplines could turn for help. And what Connect is doing, what we need to do as kind of a trailblazer in this area is to re-envision ourselves as the ultimate connector for people and to help them figure out when and where to navigate the ecosystem in San Diego and to help our companies here, our investors here, people looking to invest, to tell those stories so that it's easier to find them, it's easier to make those connections, and they have the tools and resources that can help bring attention to them so they can ensure they can grow and thrive and get their technology, their science, their medicines, whichever field or discipline they're in, get it out to help society.
Okay. San Diego is often highlighted as a top emerging innovation hub. What gives this region its unique edge?
Yeah, again, I think what gives it the edge is that we have so many different verticals. Like most places have biotech and maybe something else, but we're incredibly strong in biotech and life science. We're incredibly strong in traditional technology or tech. We have a lot of AI innovation happening here. We have 8 military bases with a lot of dual use and defense innovation happening. We're coastal and have clean tech, blue tech, climate tech, all those things, and we're truly a binational region. It's a place where we have what we call the nearshore in Tijuana, where you can be a binational company. You can drive across to see your operations on either side and be home and in your own bed for dinner without having to get on a plane and cross an ocean. And that's pretty incredible.
Interesting. How do you think about building an ecosystem that supports both startups and large established companies?
Yeah, well, if you are building the startups, that does support the established companies because it kind of provides the pipeline because they're always kind of looking for the next inventive thing to either partner with other companies or to acquire those companies. And so Connect really exists to support those young companies, those young entrepreneurs on their journey to become larger companies, or to partner with those larger companies, or sometimes their strategy is to exit and be acquired by those larger companies. And you have to have that full spectrum to have a robust ecosystem. And Connect really is both what created the ecosystem we have now and is the lifeblood of what ensures that it continues.
Okay. What does the next decade of innovation in San Diego look like in your ears?
I think it's with Connect as the center, as the ultimate connector, as the connective tissue of San Diego. Again, helping to ensure that the right people know each other in the right moments, that our entrepreneurs understand the right resources that are there ahead of them. I have a really amazing team with Kate Kelly, our Chief Strategy Officer, Gretel Von Son, our Chief Operating Officer, and Trey Briquette, our Chief Brand and Engagement Officer at Connect. Um, a new leadership team at Connect
Okay.
that is really driven, really visionary, and really wants to help push the ecosystem forward. And along with us, we have Dr. Peter Stegman, our head of entrepreneurial programs, who is helping to work with us to re-envision what does Connect in its fifth decade look like, and how do we help entrepreneurs navigate the richness of the San Diego? And I'm only a few months in as CEO. We're
Mm,
setting a really bold vision, and
okay.
as we step into 2026 is a time for us to implement it for that next decade, and that's a lot of what you'll see from us.
Okay. Good. Good to see. AI is moving at lightning speed. What do you think will define the next wave of impact in medtech and biotech?
Yeah, I think this is not an uncommon opinion, but anyone who does not embrace AI is going to get left behind. Um, AI and tech are impacting every single
Right.
vertical, but especially medtech and life science
Mm,
and finance in
okay.
incredible ways because it just has such potential. And when we talk about life science, because that's the focus of the podcast, it has the potential for drug discovery. It has the potential for personalizing medicine
Right.
through digital twins. It has the potential for making it easier to
Mm,
handle insurance billing and reimbursement, and for end users to perhaps ensure that they get covered on a better, more efficient fashion, and understanding what should be covered and what's not. as well as understanding like, hey, is your doctor's office busy, and should you go in an hour later? And the AI can help with that. But so many things from deep science and treatments to just customer experience
Mm.
can be transformed by AI. And we're layering it across our organization at Connect to make us more efficient. And I think the entities that do that, whether they be startups or large companies, earlier are going to be the ones who rise to the top.
Okay. We are seeing more crossover between tech and biotech. What excites you most about the convergence?
Yeah, again, I think it's that when you get convergence of disciplines, you get new ideas, and you bring in people who think in different ways because people who think in different ways are drawn to those disciplines. Because in tech, you have more of an engineering mindset, and
Right.
and in life science, you often have more of that curiosity into deep biology. And when you bring those together, magic happens, and that's what excites me. And it's what really drew me to San Diego as well, is the fact that we talked a bit earlier about all the different verticals we have here. When you
Right.
have those and that confluence and you're able to stimulate those interactions more and more,
Mm.
you create entire new disciplines and entire new verticals of science and innovation.
Okay.
And to be in the place where that's most likely to happen is pretty
Mm.
incredible.
Okay. Capital is always top of mind for founders. What are the biggest shifts you are seeing in venture funding right now?
Yeah, well, we're finally see it start to open up again. It was, you kind of heard about the winter of
Yeah.
funding and the winter of biotech, and that's, been happening since just after JPM of 2025. But, I think you're seeing some people get a little more comfortable with the current environment we find ourselves in, and you're seeing some capital start to unlock again. And
Okay.
so it definitely gives me hope
Mm.
that, as we're heading into to JPM 2026,
Okay.
uh, which will be happening, very shortly after this is released. That hopefully we're going to see some really good news, and some of the incredible angel investors and venture funds and family offices out there making some big moves and really opening up the checkbooks of those funds and making those investments that are going to transform what comes next.
Okay. It's interesting to know. Yeah. How is Connect helping founders not just get funding, but become investor ready?
Yes, we have multiple ways to do that. One is our long-running Springboard program,
Mm.
and that is where any company can put itself in its queue. If you have a San Diego zip code, we do require companies to be in San Diego County for us to be able to help them because we're a San Diego mission-focused organization. But if that company meets that criteria, they're able to request kind of a springboard session where they could say, "Hey, here's where we are. Here's the problem we're facing." It could be raising funding. It could be pitching for a strategic partnership, whatever it is. And then we're able to pull out of our cadre of volunteers that we have, of mentors, a session for them where they can get on, they can run through their deck and do a pitch and get some really structured feedback and
Okay.
maybe some really great introductions. So we have that program. And then also right now we have open until the end of January our
Mm.
Cool Companies program. And again, this is for primarily San Diego companies, but we'll occasionally look at companies from the broader Southern California region.
Okay.
And this is for companies that they're doing a funding raise of some sort.
Okay.
It's often focused around that Series A, but it can be a little earlier or a little later,
Mm.
depending on their value proposition. And we're looking for the best companies in tech, defense, climate, and of course, biotech, which is a tremendous industry here. And we've
Okay.
got these external groups of investors and experienced entrepreneurs who evaluate and choose the best 30 companies, and then we put them in front of serious investors 3 to 4 times throughout the year, so they get tremendous exposure as they're doing their raise.
Okay. How can startups expand globally without losing focus or burning out?
Yeah, I think it's being smart. It's not doing it too early. It's
Okay.
looking at, do you do it yourself or do you find partnerships in other regions? And again, that's where
Mm.
Connect has a tremendous advantage. We worked with other regions to help them start up their ecosystem, so we have direct contacts. We're also part of the local regional SBDC network.
Mm.
And as one of the specialty SBDCs of that network, we help companies grow and form. But at the EDC right next door to us in our offices downtown at Park and Market, we have the EDC World Trade Center specialty SBDC as well. And they exist to help companies with their international strategy in exchange for nothing. they help as well. And so we partner with them a good bit. We'll pull them in when companies are thinking of that. And I think it's just don't do it yourself. Go and get that expert advice that's available, especially when it's free.
Yeah. Good. You talk about story making rather than storytelling. What's the difference and why does it
Yeah.
matter?
Oh God, it matters so much. And it's funny, this is a term that I learned
Uh,
probably just 2.5, 3 years ago
okay.
at the Fierce Engage conferences where I heard someone talk about it, and I was like, "This is interesting." Storytelling is just it's kind of the afterthought where you're just conveying what happened loosely without necessarily an end goal in mind. Story
Mm,
making is always geared towards your North Star, and and with Connect, our North Star is assisting the entrepreneur on their journey. It's ensuring that those innovation vertical, those high tech life science, et cetera, entrepreneurs get that assistance. And when they do, that we help elevate that story for them. And
okay.
that when we're in the process of telling that story, whether it's our upcoming new podcast, The Connect Current, whether it's press releases, digital releases on LinkedIn, that always in mind is that the ultimate goal is telling the story of that entrepreneur and how we support them. And it just means that all your stories tie together and are able to weave together and support your mission, your North Star. And that's what excites us so much at Connect is, we get up every day excited to help entrepreneurs and to
Mm,
to assist them in their journey forward. And when we're telling that story properly, then the world understands
understands.
as well. And I think it helps break down some of the barriers between the general public and scientists or engineers or everything else. Because if we're doing our role right as well, it's translating a lot of what they're doing into something that's more understandable, in
Okay.
addition to the higher end bits.
Okay. How can founders translate complex science or tech into a story that resonates with the investors and customers?
Yeah, I think it's get help. It's a skill, and
Okay.
it's a skill that it's okay for founders not to innately have. And I'd say, work with your SBDC networks, work with, if you're part of an incubator program or accelerator program, if you're part of something like Techstars or Evo Nexus, or if you're a member of Biocom or you're at one of your universities, you know, pull in those resources that you have available to you, which could be your marketing communications team, your technology transfer office, the staff of these tremendous available places for folks here. It could be the USD Brink SBDC Center, but any of these resources are incredibly helpful. And you don't go it alone, and don't be afraid to ask for help, and do it early before you start to weave your story so you're not having to untell that story to tell it properly later on.
Okay. What do the best pitch decks have in common?
Oh my God. It's simplicity and directness and giving people what they want. Don't tell them the story you want to tell. Figure out who your audience is. What do they want to know from you? What is the depth of knowledge they have in the space you're talking about? If it's somebody who only invests in the area you're in, they understand market size. That's the slide you bury for the back to pull up if they ask. They want to get straight in because these people, their time is incredibly valuable. They have an infinite number of people coming to them more and more with the advent of AI, because people are able to generate decks and other things way more efficiently with artificial intelligence than before. So that didn't help, it helps in making things more streamlined sometimes, but it also increases that volume and that noise of pitches to entrepreneurs or to partner companies or to investors. And so you want to make sure that you have that story honed down, and that
Okay.
it's short, it gets to the point, and it's getting to the information they want to receive the way they want to receive it, which means your deck is not going to be the same every
Okay.
single time.
Right. That's true. You're working to transform the historic organization while honoring its roots. How do you balance legacy with reinvention?
Yeah, and I think it's where we're fortunate. We're able to draw on 40 years of deep history of again being the first place that did this, and there are incredible programs that have been there to
Mm,
learn from and lift from. There's a lot of those things that are being done by other groups in the community now where we don't need to go back and do them again, but we can weave them back in
right.
to what we're doing and refer people back and forth. And also it's going and sitting with folks and talking, people like Mary Walshock, like Tyler Orion, like Erwin Jacobs, like David Hale, many of our esteemed founders or folks who have worked at Connect throughout the 40 years, like Abby Barrow or other folks, Mike Kren, the previous CEO, and just learning and absorbing. Because you never know what someone says that might spark a way to either bring something back that happened before or to put a little modern twist on it
Right.
and do it differently, but in a way that is very current for now. And so we did a lot of listening over my first 4 months here,
Mm,
and now we're ready to really finalize kind of our vision forward. We'll unveil it, in the late winter, early spring of
mm,
2026,
mm.
and then we're off to the races and ready to go.
Okay. What's one leadership lesson that has shaped the way you operate today?
Oh, it's The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Is an incredible book by Patrick Lencioni,
Okay.
and that everything comes down to communication and trust. I mean, there are of course five things he goes to, but teams that don't communicate, if you assume things versus asking or just communicating, that always causes problems. And 99% of problems are caused by someone not communicating and just thinking they can do something in a silo versus just having that conversation, picking up the phone, walking over to someone's desk and having the conversation. And communication is enabled when you have trust, and that you have to have trust with your team, that everyone's coming at it with the best intentions, because it allows you to have positive conflict because people understand
Mm.
that it's coming from the state of helping that company be the best or helping Connect as an organization be the best. And we don't all have to agree, but we have to come together and reach a consensus and come out of that room and drive that forward regardless of where you were when you walked in.
Who do you look for inspiration or mentorship in your career?
Oh my God, so many people. Like I'm inspired by my colleagues, my friends. I mean, these are some people I talk about all the time, but like Kirsten Leute from Osage University Partners is someone amazing. I've obviously I'm a bit fangirl now when I get to sit and have coffee and Mary Walshock calls me, who's one of the founders of Connect. It's like,
Okay.
she knows who I am and we actually hang out and brainstorm and chat together, which is incredible. And she's still got the most tremendous ideas to learn from because she comes at it from a sociology perspective, which
Wow.
is a tremendous way to look at architecting innovation, right?
Right.
Tari Sapropto at Novo Nordisk, one of my best friends, Mike Rondelli of years, who came out of investment banking in New York and then went into knowledge transfer and now is doing knowledge transfer and research entities. Just so many people out there. And one of my favorites, one of my personal heroes is Dr. Elaine Ham, because Dr. Ham is the CEO of biotech companies. She started as a scientist, did innovation inside and outside of academia, went and did technology transfer, went out to a venture fund and has done that, has been
Mm,
an operating officer for companies, a CEO for companies. And just she has such passion and such vision for everything she does. And for all of her companies, she
mm.
has a picture of a patient that would be affected, who is often someone she knows on her desk, the one she's working with. And that's what drives her every day. And I think, we're very similar in that. And people who are driven by that kind of passion are just incredible to look at. It's absolutely amazing. And it's a bit awe-inspiring that I get to work alongside these people to transform the world.
What big opportunities do you see ahead for founders in 2025 and beyond?
For founders in the future, I think it is that venture capital is opening up. I think it's that, we're going to see, we've talked about how AI has been layered in on everything, but I think we're going to see how it's happening
Right.
more and more and have it start to settle out where we
Mm,
actually truly understand where that value is for multiple industries. I think it's the fact that, Connect is re-envisioned itself for that year. And so if you're in San Diego as a founder, you can come work with us. And if you're another innovation ecosystem somewhere else, you can come learn from how we're changing and doing things once again and adapt your model the Connect way.
okay. If you could change one thing about how innovation ecosystem operate, what would it be?
Oh, that there was infinite funding for all the companies and that it was easy for them to get it. It's funding for that research because you have
Right.
so many people with great ideas and great dreams.
Mm,
It's that. And I think, this isn't a problem in San Diego, which makes me happy, but I'd say, in seriousness, when you want to get outside money,
Okay.
it's just that people view it as collaborative and not competitive. And
Mm.
I'm fortunate, and it's one of the things that drew me to San Diego and got me to leave New Orleans is that is here on this. It's the same as New Orleans, but just on such a larger economy of scale that you could have an even greater impact. But in too many ecosystems, I see the competition where people view, if you help somebody else, that's taking away from yourself. And that's not the case at all. It's putting that positive energy out into the universe. And if everyone does it, you all rise together. And so that's where I see the change for many ecosystems that could just transform them is if people come together and work together more, as opposed to seeing it as though I have to take care of this for myself and kind of hide it away. It's share it and introduce other people to those resources as well.
That's true. What's one bold prediction you're willing to make about the future of global innovation?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm that smart. I do think it's going to be interesting because I think the way that AI and tech transform global innovation, I don't even think we completely understand it yet. Um, and so it's that what we're thinking of with that now will not be the way it winds up. And so I don't know what that looks like, but I can't wait to see. And I'm willing to bet that in 5 years, the world will look very different based on
Right.
that. And I don't know how, but I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And finally, what's the one piece of advice you would give to innovators listening today?
Oh, yeah. Stay curious, stay bold, don't give up. It is, it's a hard, path to go forward on. And they've chosen something that is so incredibly meaningful and so incredibly, yeah, has the potential to be so incredibly transformative for the world if they push their vision and their dreams forward. And so it's don't give up and don't be afraid to ask for help and to ask for those resources. And, especially if you're in San Diego, come
Mm,
to connect,
yeah.
come to our events, reach out to us, reach out to the team. The entire team is here to help you.
Okay.
And, don't be afraid. Don't be shy.
Okay. Good. Thank you, James, for an incredibly
That good?
insightful conversation. And the work at Connect demonstrates how technology can be a powerful force when aligned with purpose, security, and social impact. Thank you for your
Well,
time today.
thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to listening to all your other interviews and learning from those folks and getting some new mentors as well. And I'm wishing everyone a tremendous 2026 ahead.
Thank you.